Hello and welcome everyone to bonus episode of the Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. This is a pleasure to be here today on behalf of myself and Kenny and Jason and Stephen, who's not here. We're joined by Bruce Russell, who is the third generation. Can we call you master distiller or not?
No,
we can't
Jimmy
call
will
you
beat
that.
me up.
Okay, Jimmy will beat you up. So third generation in the family with the business.
Yeah, whiskey maker.
Right?
Yeah.
Whiskey maker. Here today to celebrate the release of the return, not the release, the return.
The return of the king.
Of the king, the 8-year 101. We're so happy to be here. And I know that this day was coming. We had you back on our podcast, episode 184, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And in that time, you kind of foreshadowed or talked about the release of the 70th at the time, right? And that was coming up. And now we're here past that time, and we're looking at a standard release. So I just want to kind of get us kicked off here and ask you what this means to you, to your family, and we'll kind of just go from there. To Jimmy,
I mean, it means the world to us. The 70th also, obviously meant a lot to us.
Right.
Jimmy liked to act like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And then, he's out there and him and Dad are crying at the big thing that they did here.
Man.
And the whole thing with the 70th and with this 8-year-old, it means a lot to us because it's not that we completely went away from it, but it's almost a return to what I think makes turkey so special and what's made it so special over the years is, man, what Jimmy really is about is 6 to 12-year-old whiskey,
right,
at 100 proof or above, at affordable price. That's what Jimmy's about. He grew up with nothing. He has always recognized that he comes from, blue collar, if not below blue collar roots.
Right.
And so for him, this is what whiskey should be. Is we should be able to give people awesome products, and it doesn't have to cost hundreds of dollars. And 8-year-old 101 is what he started making back in the day. When he started in 54, this was all that he was making.
Right.
So to him, this is the perfect product. This is all we should make, It's 8-year-old 101. And so for the family, there's not a thing that we could be doing as a company that would make us happier.
All right.
It's bringing this back to the United States.
Love it.
It's minty dusty.
Is this the...
that's the original.
That's
the original 101.
Okay.
More standard, without age statement.
Yeah, the OG 101, or what we know as 101 today, because I guess this is the OG.
Right.
But it's not going away. They're going to sit side by side on shelf together. And so everybody knows the classic, typical 101 flavor profile. It's a large batch, 6 and older whiskey, clove, vanilla, caramel, oak, maybe a little fresh fruit on there. Nice heat because it's a Jimmy whiskey. It's going to be a little punchier than the Russell stuff. It's just a great $25 bottle.
I concur.
Yeah.
Oh. That was going to be one of my questions, was about if both products are going to stay on the shelf together.
Both products are staying.
Okay.
This isn't going to replace 101. This is not a limited edition because it's going to be available annually.
Okay.
But it's not going to be, we're not producing hundreds of thousands of cases of this like we are 101.
So there's a chance I could go to my liquor store and this is not on the shelf like 101 will be.
6 months from now.
Because sold
Because they
out.
only do it once a year.
Possibly.
Well, we're going to have it available annually.
Okay.
That's an issue right now with whiskeys is we don't know exactly what the fans are going to do.
Sure.
Well, I've got a good idea what they're going to do.
I do too.
And I was poking fun at ourselves a little earlier today that they were at one point they thought the 70th anniversary we were going to have enough of it to last throughout this whole year.
Oh, gosh.
Well, and then we sold out in a couple months. So I think this 8-year-old, especially the first year or two, it's not going to be as readily available because people are going to see a $45. But if you don't find it right away, this ain't just coming out this year or next year. This is a permanent addition to the U.S. portfolio, and we're going to slowly ramp up production until we finally meet demand.
Okay.
For us, we just have always found that it's a little better to start small and grow into what you want.
Absolutely.
Than flood the market with something that you see it everywhere, and then you see case deals. We don't want that to have this product.
So the run of this, when the first release, would be about the same as the 70th that you're looking at, like the production run?
Approximately.
Okay.
And Also not the same 70th flavor profile wise. I want people to know that. So it is going to be around the same as far as the number of cases out there. It's going to be a little bit smaller the first year again as we continue to ramp up. But this is the export 8. So to me, the 70th was that 101 you all just tried.
Right.
Ratcheted up. The 70th was like 101 on steroids. It was big and in your face and spicy. Right. The 8-year-old 101, and I think some of this has to do, barrel selection. I think some of this has to do is this product was really built on a worldwide market and not just the U.S. market like almost everything else we do. So this is not a big, spicy, in-your-face, bigger version of 101. This is a richer, darker, more fruit-forward version of 101. Okay.
So this is the
Sounds great.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get like mintiness and some dustiness.
On the
Even though it's 8 years old, it tastes like older. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. This is more in line. Like if you love the 12-year-old export, this is more in line with that 12-year-old flavor profile to me than typical 101.
Okay.
I guess the next logical question would be why now? What was there a catalyst or something that came together where you guys thought it's a good time to reintroduce this, or just were caught up with it, or?
A few things. One,
Okay.
we actually have the liquid to do it currently.
Okay.
Like I would have loved if we would have done it 5 or 10 years ago, but a part of it was liquid constraints. Because I think there's this connotation, because I've seen people talk about it like,
Wow.
well, they have the 12 over
good,
there,
isn't
or they
it?
have
Yeah,
the 8
so
over there. Why don't we bring it to the U.S.?
Oh.
Well, man, I think people think because we see a lot of the 8 and 12 export here that there's a ton of it. We don't make that much of it. We see a lot here is because it gets exported back to here,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere, and everybody's buying and selling, trading the same 10,000 bottles of it.
Right.
And so they think we're selling hundreds. There's not that much of it. So if we were to have released it before, it would have been extremely small. So I think liquid constraints were a big part of it. I think, 2, the 70th anniversary really made a huge difference. When we were working on that, like the very first time we put out that TTP label, we started to get just like hammered with, what is this? Is this? And then well, the thing was, you saw a bunch of people really early on being like, it's going to be $200 a bottle. And then once they saw that $45 price point, they lost their minds.
Yeah.
And it taught our company that is not my grandfather, me, dad, the union workers have been here for 40 or 50 years that know Wild Turkey. Like, wow, we didn't realize that it was going to be this crazy. And so it's proven to the powers that be that we can have something for everybody. And I think that's really what's going to make this great, and it's going to make our portfolio better, is we're still going to make stuff like Master's Keep and Russell's 13 and, you know, all the crazy award-winning higher end
Keep
products.
the rye goodness coming, please.
Absolutely. The 8-year-old, this is what Wild Turkey really is all about. It's having a bottle that somebody that came from working here at the factory, that was rolling barrels, can get off of work, go to his local little liquor store here, pull off this bottle off the mid shelf, and he don't even have to think about the price. It's $45. And that's what this is for.
It's iconic. I mean, you think of Wild
This
Turkey.
is
I think
Wild
of that.
Turkey.
Exactly.
8-year-old
exactly.
101.
I just think of the turkey on the label. You know, those older ones from like
Yeah.
the '90s back. It's awesome. I saw the decanters up there. It just brings back a lot of memories from my grandpa. You know,
Absolutely.
having those. So awesome to see.
Not wanting to shy away from talking about only this product, but I wondered, like, in the last, so we had the opportunity to interview you in the past, and I don't know that we got into that as much.
that is
What's
good.
your recent favorite Wild Turkey release, or something that is to you like your favorite thing that's come out maybe in the last year or two from the brand?
And now, just Wild Turkey or like whole portfolio?
The whole
Russell's included?
portfolio, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
Russell's
not-
15,
yeah,
man.
Russell's
Yeah.
15, okay.
And it's funny because that's probably the least amount of work I've had to do on any project. I think I told y'all this when we were talking last time. It's like, you know, you want to take a lot of credit as a blender that we had to work on all these barrels. It took years of painstaking back and forth trial and error and honing in on what you want. Lord, we were in the lab almost 3 years ago now. And I remember me and Dad sitting up there with a guy that really helps us named Josh Call, who works on the R&D team here. And we were sitting there. He has these Camp Nelson barrels set aside. And he's like, you know, at that time, we're going to do maybe an older version of Russell's 13. It's done so well that we're going to look at this in the lab. We all sit around, we try it. We all just start laughing. And so we're like, what is this? This is the best whiskey we've ever had. Like, how many of these Camp Nelson barrels do we have?
Yeah.
And we got them. The only issue with Russell 15 at all was that it was too high proof. It was like 160 proof, almost batch proof. And so we had to figure out, which is why it's the color of motor oil. But we had to figure out what proof we wanted to end up at.
Yeah.
And that was the only, back and forth is, I like it at 118. I like it at 115. I like it at 120.
I like it 142.
Yeah, and you both.
Always, yeah, of course.
But I don't take credit because the whiskey was already good. I've made fun of Dad. I was like, well, you're going to let me start doing all the whiskey stuff when you've laid down all this good stuff at Camp Nelson and I get all the credit? This is perfect for me.
That makes it,
No doubt.
But 15 probably. But let me tell you, there's some stuff coming out this year and next year.
I saw some TTB stickers.
That yes, if you look at the
Higher
TTB
proof.
stuff, you're going to start to see some
single
higher
Rick.
proof. You'll start to see my name ended up on some bottles. And
like
if
that.
you like stuff like the 8-year-old, like the 15,
Yeah.
if you that age stated higher proof,
Like 12-year rise.
we got a lot of stuff in the works. We got a lot of stuff in the works.
Okay, 12, you're right, huh? No, that's great.
Yeah. So, you've probably answered this 100 times, but when did you know, or when did you decide that this was your career path?
I decided at 21.
Okay.
I mean, this is a story I've told a few times over the years. I started giving tours here
I remember one of the first tours I had here was you were leading.
I had one
Yeah.
and he had one with you. Yeah,
about a
way
month
back.
after I
you
turned
just came back.
21.
That's when
Yeah.
you just came back.
And
Yep.
I was in college, and I had been working at Kroger, and I was like, I don't want to keep working at Kroger in the deli. And Dad's like, well, come give tours. Like, it'd be easy for you. You just tell them you're my kid. They'll love it. Like, you already know all the stats. And he was right. I was good at giving the tours. People did love that I was part of the family. And I didn't think anything of it. I was going to school to be an engineer. That's what I wanted to do.
Nice.
And I wanted to build robots for a living. And about a month in, Dad takes me aside, and he's like, I'm going to go on your tour. All right, whatever. He goes on my tour. At the end, he's like, you don't really know anything. I was like, well, thanks a lot. And he's like, well, I'll teach you not just what we do, but why we do it,
Yeah.
And we spent a whole afternoon together. I joked last night. I was telling
That's
this
the
guy.
most he's talked to you.
Yeah, we hung out for 5 hours. That's 4 hours and 55 more minutes he's ever spoken in his life. Me and my brother always laugh. They're like, I wonder how they got married without Dad being able to say I do. He just doesn't speak. He's very quiet at home. He's very introverted. And I always just thought like, well, he's angry all the time or something. He's just quiet. And then we spent that whole afternoon together, and he was smart and passionate and knowledgeable, and it was a side of him I'd never seen.
Yeah. Fire in the car.
And I was like, damn, Dad is awesome.
Yeah.
He can speak English. But really, it's like I didn't know
God.
this side of him at all. I didn't know he was good at his job, or that he had done all these cool things, or that he actually was the one. You see names on bottles. And I'm a jaded person that grew up with the internet. I'm like, I'm sure it's just all marketing. And then I was like, oh, wow, Dad's actually the one that does all this stuff, or Jimmy really does do all this stuff. And it made me realize that this is going to be the only way that I was actually going to get to have a real relationship with my folks, with Dad and Jimmy.
Sure.
That this was my chance to not only continue their legacy, which I didn't really care about.
Which is an amazing legacy, though.
And now
absolutely.
I
your
feel
own.
very lucky to get to do it. So I do care about it now. But at that time, I cared about, man, this is a chance for me to be around them. And probably the only chance I'd ever had, because the other path that I probably would have taken, which is a path a lot of my friends have done, which is you go to school, you get your degree, you move out of state.
You wouldn't be living here.
I wouldn't be living here. I grew up in a small town, and like a lot of small town folks, I wanted to get out.
Sure.
And it's funny because like I did move away for a few years to rep the brand in Austin, Texas, which is a place where people move to get out of small towns. And then about 5 years later, I was like, I got to go back to that small town and work. Because this is where my heart is. This is where my passion is. And talking to some folks earlier, they were like, are you going to be like your dad and retire like a normal person maybe one day? Because, Dad's always said, I don't want to stay here until I'm 90 like Jimmy. Or are you going to be like Jimmy? And it'd be pretty cool if I was out here when I was 90.
Yeah.
To be honest.
good.
Yeah. What'd you give me?
Enjoy some pocket pours with Kenny here.
Yeah. Kenny's always got something insane.
Uh-oh. They're far off the script now.
Can I tell a story on him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenny's
You
the
got to
type,
do this. Yeah.
Kenny's the type that
That's what this is about.
he always has a pocket pour. And he's not a nice pocket pour person. Because Kenny's always up to some shit.
To trick you up.
And he's the type, we were at a buddy of ours liquor store, Justin's, up in Lexington. And it was like right after me and Kenny had hung out at the distillery not too long ago, and he came here on a barrel pick without me. And he got Grant, who runs our barrel program, to thieve out some whiskey that he knew I liked. It's an 8-year-old, 101 proof barrel over there. I only know the stats because he actually got somebody to get the stats for him with that pour he got. Well, he has me tasted blind.
His own stuff.
And he's sitting there grinning. This barrel that I proclaim, like, it's one of my favorite barrels. And so he's sitting there watching me. Thank God. I'm like, man, this is really good. What is this? Because I know for a fact, I'm not going to rat out who did it because I don't want to throw them under the bus. But I know for a fact, earlier on, like very recent, or just right before that, he had given a pour to a mutual buddy of ours that's got a brand. And that buddy's brand is like $100+ a bottle.
And Kenny goes, like his own.
And Kenny goes, what do you think about this? He goes, I wouldn't pay $40 for this or something like that. And so I'm glad that I didn't fall for that same trick. I was like, this is awful. This is sure don't know what they're doing. Thankfully, I did like my own liquid.
I have seen him.
So be careful with his pocket pours is what I'm
pour
saying.
the same thing in a glass for people and say, which one do you like better? And they're like, oh, I really love this one. And they're talking all about this one. He's like, they're the same thing. He does it all the time.
But she's poured me something dusty. This has got some funk to it.
It's got some.
But tell a story on him that's not even him.
Yeah.
But he did the same thing to my dad.
Dude, that is.
Was that this year or end of last year?
the end of last year.
End of last year. We're in the rick house.
Hang on, it's the same whiskey.
It's
This was 1988. Cheesy Goldfoil. One of the best
how about
whiskeys.
one of the cheesy go for one of the best things we've ever had. Dad's favorite thing we've ever come out with.
Yes.
And Dad rolls in because Kenny's in there, because our buddy Ryan's in there,
Bourbon
my
Junkies.
childhood best friend, the Bourbon Junkies are there.
ADHD.
Yeah.
And so I've hit Dad up. I'm like, yo, a bunch of the people you like, they're going to be here. So he walks in. He's yelling at everybody, being Dad. And Kenny slips him some of this cheesy Goldfoil. Dad smells it and drinks it, and he goes, this is pretty good. And then he pitches it onto the floor.
That much of it.
Yes, this much or more. Pitches it in the floor, gets a barrel sample from one of the private barrels, because he doesn't know what the pocket pour is. It's like some warehouse G or K, and he looks at all of his dead face. He's like, this is better than that thing Kenny gave me. And we were all losing it. Like, I don't, sure, maybe it is to you, but be careful of Kenny's pocket pours. You never know what he's going to have.
You have that little meme, with the girl walking by and the guy, and he's looking back. Like 88 CGF is gone. He's looking out.
And he gets another pour. We all are just like, no. And he just pitches it in the dirt.
That was good.
Oh, man.
That was a
Kenny's
great
pocket
day.
pours, they're legendary.
88 CGF, my man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which actually David and Ryan are here today.
Okay. Yeah. So this is awesome. That pocket pour, enjoy it.
Yeah, I will. I appreciate it.
Kenny's always got something to sleep, but we're so happy that we got a chance to come here today to celebrate this release. I finished mine. It's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it on the shelves because I'll buy a couple, and I appreciate the fact that you talked about how wide a release this will be, because that really helped a lot of our listeners out last time. We talked about the 70th, and you said, I wouldn't go run out and try to buy it, immediately. I mean, everybody did, but some people paid, ridiculous.
Paid ridiculous.
Yeah,
$100,
And then it was-
$200,
then it was
$300 a
at their
bottle.
local liquor
And
store
then they were like,
a week
oh, it's
later.
here.
Find this.
Yeah,
Don't rush to buy a bottle at $100.
right, exactly. 'Cause
First of all, the export that you can get is cheaper than that, but it's a permanent addition to the line.
Yeah.
So don't, and I'm hope that helped people out.
It did.
Because I don't want people to rush and I'm going to pay hundreds of dollars over retail.
Right.
When it's just going to show up at your local Costco.
Right.
2 weeks after.
Right, exactly.
But I appreciate y'all saying what you did about the 8-year-old. I'll give you all some credit here. I listen to y'all's podcast.
Oh.
Kenny's a good buddy of mine. And one thing that I love about y'all's podcast, but always makes me listen in when y'all are talking about our stuff, you all tell your all's truth. You all tell what you all really think. You're not afraid to, and I'm not going to name names, but I've heard whiskeys that other people be like, whiskey of the year, and y'all buying them, and one of y'all be like, I don't like this. This is awful. And then the other one gets to laugh. They're like, what's this?
And that's why we get $0.
That's why they don't
we
get
make
paid.
no money, unfortunately.
But for somebody like me, it's so much more beneficial because I get y'all's honest opinions when I listen in and y'all are drinking whatever our newest thing is.
Right.
And I hear Kenny be like, well, I like this, but I didn't like it as much. That stuff really helps us out.
Yeah.
And the fact that I could hear you all as y'all are drinking 8-year-old, man, this is good. That makes me feel good about what we've done.
It really was.
One quick question. Do you all have a release date for this one yet?
Into April.
End of April. Okay.
So everybody should know in the United States, 3-tier system, every state's different. May is when a lot of people be getting it, but
Okay.
into April is when
Okay.
it's starting to hit shelves.
Awesome. Well,
thanks
thanks
for having
us.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you, man.
Thank you all
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Of course.